Hello. In recent times, it feels like there has been a long overdue and very welcome increase in focus on the activity that took place at the early Citadel and Games Workshop by all of the incredible people who worked there to bring us the games that we love so much today. Now, I think there are loads of incredible ways to find out about all of that history, and I would like to think that the work I do here on the channel contributes in some small way to a growing awareness and appreciation of that work. But sometimes there's no better way to learn about history than to speak to the people who actually lived it. And that's why Talking Miniatures, this book that I've got right here, has come along at the perfect time. John Stallard and Robin Dews have collected the thoughts and recollections of 18 individuals who were present at early Games Workshop. And I am going to take a look at it, review it, and then give a copy away for free. I'm Jordan, this is Jordan Sorcery, and today I'm reviewing Talking Miniatures. Talking Miniatures is a collection of interviews, or rather conversations, led by John Stallard and Robin Dews with 16 other alumni from the earliest days of Games Workshop and Citadel before it. Through those conversations, they talk about the origins of Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000, the way in which the design studio worked, or the technologies that were used in casting metals and creating White Dwarf. There's lots of interesting stories about all of the different aspects of running the business of Games Workshop. And if you watch to the end of the video, I will be giving away a copy of Talking Miniatures. Not this one, because this one is mine. You'll be getting a brand new sealed copy instead. Published by Shaggy Dog and available via Warlord Games and Amazon, you'll find in this book conversations with Rick Priestley, the Perry twins, Bob Naismith, Trish Carden, Andy Chambers, Jervis Johnson, and many more influential alumni of Workshop. The book describes itself as drawing together entertaining and occasionally surprising recollections from the eclectic cast of designers, sculptors, artists, rebels, and nonconformists who gravitated towards the early Games Workshop and Citadel miniatures. Before we get into my review proper, I just wanted to share a few caveats, just so we're all aware of everything. Now, the copy I will be giving away was sent to me by Shaggy Dog and Robin Dews, so although I had my own copy, this is the one that I'm going to be sending out to a lucky viewer. I just wanted to make it clear that that's where the copy came from. Secondly, the material that's in this book is about the history of Citadel and Games Workshop, and due to the very nature of the work I do here on the channel, that means that this is absolutely perfect for me. So I'm coming at this from a very particular perspective. And again, I just wanted to make clear that this is not a casual version of a review. I'm not a layman in these terms because I'm super interested from a professional perspective in what's covered in this book. And my third caveat is that I have interviewed and chatted with Robin Dews on a number of occasions, and I'm a huge fan of the work he did at Games Workshop. It was actually Robin who helped get the ball rolling on my interview series as well. So I have a massive respect for him, and I massively appreciate his support for the channel. Now, when he reached out to me, he did say that he wanted a warts and all review. Nothing was to be held back. So I'm going to try and be as honest and candid as I can, but I just wanted to be clear about that relationship as well. Now, with all my caveats out of the way, let's get stuck into what I thought about Talking Miniatures. This is a big book, or rather two books really. The various conversations are split across two volumes and categorized by miniatures designers, games designers, artists, White Dwarf editors, miniature painters, and a final collected group of salesmen, craftsmen, and cat herders. The conversations that are recorded in the book were held by John Stallard and Robin Dews and one or more of the contributors at a time. Then it's all presented in the book, more or less intact. Given that many of the people involved already know each other, already have a professional relationship, or are friends, there is a real free-flowing chat feel to the entire book, hence its title, Talking Miniatures. These are not hard-hitting interviews drilling into deep, specific topics, but more of a general discussion of careers, eras, and fun moments in time. John Stallard and Robin Dews are not so much authors or even really interviewers, nor do they claim to be. Instead, they are facilitating the recollections of their subjects, and they help to steer conversations to more interesting areas, occasionally chiming in with their own recollections or observations. It means that both Robin and John are a consistent voice across the entire book, and because of the informal and collegial nature of the various conversations, it really does feel like you are joining the group for a cup of tea and a natter about the olden days. Of course, that's what was literally happening for the interviewees involved, but it is lovely that that warmth of feeling seems to extend to the reader as well. There are some big name contributors included in the book, including Rick Priestley, Andy Chambers, Andy Jones, Mike McVeigh, and Jervis Johnson, and it is fantastic to hear their stories about steering the ship, developing new games, and being involved at the heart of Games Workshop's evolution. But there is a category of contributor that should definitely not be overlooked, and actually some of the most interesting stories I found came from the craftspeople and salespeople and so-called cat herders, the people who made sure that the wheels didn't come off the whole Citadel and Games Workshop train. Casting mastermind Tony Epworth shares recollections of the original processes for making Citadel's early miniatures. Tim Pollard explains how he posed for artists like Dave Gallagher when he was illustrating the Drachenfeld novel. Richard Ellard reflects on the production schedules in the 1987 design studio on the way to the release of Warhammer 40,000. In many ways, these are just recollections of the small, everyday minutiae of a growing business, but they also very often speak to the attitude, culture, and creativity of an artistic collective who were all firing on full cylinders, and the under-celebrated titanic efforts that went into turning all of that creativity into the physical books and boxes and miniatures that could actually be manufactured and sold. This book is just crammed full of insights into the hows and whys of the Citadel, Warhammer, and Games Workshop journey for its first 40 years. Although the conversations are an absolute delight, they are elevated by something else that's contained in this book as well, and that's the image annotation. Throughout the books and interviews, there are an incredible number of perfectly curated images that illustrate the topics being discussed in the interviews. There are white dwarf covers and pages, rulebooks, boxes, miniatures, flyers, and posters, dioramas, journal issues, blister packs, adverts, illustrations, and rarely seen personal photos. Not only do these additions make the pages more visually interesting and give the reader a reference point for things that they might not be familiar with or remember clearly, but they are also themselves as much a part of this story as the conversations are. More or less all of the items that are presented are drawn from the personal collections of the interviewees, and from John and Robin's collections as well. These are a literal visual history, an archive of Games Workshop, and all of the incredible work that took place at Citadel over that unbelievably creative 40-year period. Knowing that the people who made so much of these incredible games still have these mementos, memories, and products of their innovative labour is somehow quite heartening. It really speaks to me about how much this stuff matters as much to the people who made it as to the people who bought and played it. People like me. I can only imagine the exhaustive amount of work that it must have been to bring together all of those different images, to source them and to present them in a way that is relevant to what's being talked about at any given point in the book. It's a huge labour of love, and it absolutely pays off. It really elevates everything else in the books, which was already amazing to start with. The books themselves are roughly A4 in size, and they run to a combined almost 500 pages. They come in a sturdy card slipcase. Whatever else it is a physically impressive set, and it weighs quite a fair amount. The glossy pages and the size of them does seem to put me in mind of White Dwarf. A lot of the editing has at times this feel of classic White Dwarfs as well, and given that Robin Dews was a long-time editor of the magazine, that might be no surprise. It works well on the interiors, with the images being given plenty of room to breathe and the text flowing nicely around them. This is a really easy book to spend time with. That said, there are times when some of the more restrained visual choices do stray a little bit into the realm of the school textbook though. A particular example of this might be the cover itself. That's not a problem and not really an issue by any means, but I think it's probably fair to say that the overall collection lacks the visual flair of a production like, say, Dungeons & Dragons Art and Arcana, the visual history that was produced by Wizards of the Coast. That does not take away from just how good the quality of this book is. And as I say, the real draw here are the conversations, what John Stallard and Robin Dews have brought together, an oral history, if you like, of Games Workshop for its first 40-ish years. That is, and I don't think it's hyperbolic to say this, an extremely important piece of work. This book is absolutely going to go down as one of the major and most important sources that we have available about that incredibly innovative and important time in the history of Warhammer and Games Workshop. There are a couple of voices that it would have been lovely to see included in the collection as well, Brian Ansell and John Blanche being prime examples, as well as Tom Kirby. Now, there are understandable and completely legitimate reasons why they are not included, so this is not a criticism, merely just a point of fact that it would have been nice if this were to be a comprehensive view of that history if it had been possible to include them. Now, that's not to say that their presence is not felt on most pages in Talking Miniatures. In fact, Brian Ansell and John Blanche in particular are referenced countless times throughout the recollections of so many other contributors. You can really see how they were absolutely integral to the very fabric of Citadel and Games Workshop. And Robin Dews does a sterling job in the introduction and epilogue of really centering the contribution of Brian Ansell to the history of Citadel. In summary, I would say that this is an incredible book, and I genuinely love it. This is absolutely perfect, exactly what I would want from a project like this. Now, I don't know if you are quite as interested in Citadel and Games Workshop history as I am, but if you are, and you may well be, given that you watch stuff here on the channel, I would expect that this would not disappoint. It really is incredible to hear the views and recollections and observations from the people who were there about an amazing time in Games Workshop history. It's just awesome to read. Now, if you want to win a copy of Talking Miniatures and take home this mighty tome, then all you need to do is subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment down below. That comment simply has to tell me one product that you have absolutely loved from Games Workshop over the years. It could be a boxed game, it could be a book, it could be a miniature, it could be a paint, it could be anything. Just any product that Games Workshop have released that you adore. I just want to share the love and hear what stuff from Games Workshop people have enjoyed the most. That's it. I will draw a name at random on the 26th of Feb, and I will reach out to you in the comments, so keep an eye out. If you don't claim your prize within a couple of weeks, I will redraw and then reach out to the new winner instead. Thank you to Shaggy Dog for sending me a copy of Talking Miniatures to give away. Thank you for watching. I'm Jordan, and this is Jordan Sorcery.